Welcome in, students. In this video, we are going to cover Unit 1, Lesson 4. It's evaluating numerical expressions. This is part 1. We did this in class today, but I know some of you guys were absent. We also had some folks that were asking for a little more help. All right, I'll ask you guys to bear with me. This is first video of the year. This is first video with some new equipment, so um, you guys may not have watched any of my previous videos because you haven't taken geometry yet, and unless any of my folks from First Coast that were watching my geometry videos are watching this, nobody really knows. But this is it may just bear with me. Like I said, I don't usually edit, excuse me, because there's not a lot of time. I hope to get to the point where we can do this in class. It may be easier. I just got to figure out how to set it up at school because YouTube won't let me upload on my work computer, so I'm using my home computer. It's a whole thing. Anyway, so parents, if you're watching, so yeah, so we did this in class. I'm going to go over the practice stuff. I'm going to do one half of the partner stuff, and then I'll show you where we left off. I haven't asked folks to bring books home, the ones that were, wanted extra time. I appreciate that and encourage it, and hopefully this all kind of goes together. I will say this warm up, a lot of these, what do you notice or what do you wonder, that sort of thing. I'm not going to answer those here. That's more of an opinion type thing. I'm going to answer the math problems. So I will go over the benchmark. Just, you know, I may stop doing it in the videos because, like I tell the kids in class, this is a very official way of putting it. So it sounds like Charlie Brown's mom, and then I have to tell them what it's really trying to say anyway. So it's kind of this is just more of an official thing. It goes on my lesson plans, so everybody knows what I'm teaching. So solve mathematical problems using multi-step order of operations with rational numbers, including grouping symbols like parentheses, whole number exponents, and absolute value. Our learning target, we're going to evaluate numerical expressions with up to 4 operations. All right, so the warm-up is about Castillo de San Marcos. If you've ever been to St. Augustine, you've probably seen this. Um, I'll just kind of point you to the design. It's asking, what do you notice about the design and what do you wonder? So this is page 21. If you are in the book, excuse me, like I said, I used to do this. It was on notebook paper, but so now we're using the book. This is just going to take a little bit to get used to. Actually, let me try to do this so I'm not having to hold the book. So, again, pardon. All right, so page 22. All right, now this says work with a partner. So, what I tend to do with this in class is everybody's watching and kind of give them a second to think about it, allow them to answer. But I usually end up giving the answers. I think I did give them time in class here. I said I'll kind of go through these, and I would encourage you, like, let's say I do the first table here, maybe pause and I'll give you a second before, if you want to work through some of this on your own. So over here, so they want to know the correct order of operations here. All right, so this one says perform operations inside grouping symbols, aka parentheses. And we all know, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, the P stands for parentheses. So this would be number 1. All right, number 2 says perform multiplication or division in order left to right. All right, so that, old school folks, that's my dear, so that's a little later. Let's look here. Evaluate expressions with exponents. So that's the excuse, please excuse. So this guy would be number 2. So we do parentheses first, and then we work our exponents. Then we work our multiplication and division from left to right. So that would be step 3. And then here, adding and subtraction is step 4. So, parentheses, you don't have to write this, but if you would like to, it'll help. And then exponents. And then it's, so multiplication or division. Oops, division. So left to right. Then addition or subtraction. And again, left to right. And what we mean, excuse me, what we mean by multiplication or division, sorry, didn't realize I was off the page. A lot of folks get caught up, so please excuse my dear Aunt Sally or Aunt Sherry if you had Miss Feckety last year. But it's multiplication or division. So we have a problem, and we've worked the parentheses, excuse me, can't talk, and the exponents. So you start left to right. But if division's first, that's fine. It's whichever is first, left to right. Addition, subtraction, whichever is first, left to right. So I just want to teach that because we have me, I'm an overthinker. You guys, some of you are, I can tell already, and that's okay. I can help you with that. But as an overthinker, I tell you this because one day if you don't know that, it may cause you to, excuse me, overthink and mess up a problem. I know that because I've done it. So anyway, all right, over here, excuse me. So for each table, an expression is evaluated, but the steps are mixed up, so they want us to rewrite them in the right order. Now these are correct. We're dealing with the other two, and down here we're dealing with the other 4. And they want an explanation over here. We're just gonna shortcut it because I'll tell you, I'm gonna cut down the writing if I can. So let's look at this. So this is your original expression or your original problem. So they tell you step 1. Step 2, so if you look, what did we do? What's different? It's this. -1 to the 5th power is -1. Because -1 times -1 is 1. But this is an odd, so odd numbers means we're going to end up with a negative. So we evaluated the exponent. So that was what happened from here to here. All right, so we have this left, and then we have this. So notice this is a number by itself, probably the answer. So that's probably last. And then here you've got something multiplied. So this is step 3. Oops. I'm going to go ahead and mark this step 4. We know that's the end. So what did we do between here and here? So it looks like we divided these two and we got this, right? So I just need you guys to write divide. You don't have to write, all the extra stuff. If you write divide, I know you know that between step 2 and 3, division happened. All right, and then between here and here, say we're multiplying. That's why it goes from -4.5 times, when you multiply that by a negative number, 2 negatives make a positive. And we multiplied, so just write multiply. You could also write solve, but for now, stick with this, okay? Later on, I may get you guys to write that. Okay, so we'll scoop this here. This is part B. So this is where in class I would let you guys look at it and then we would talk it through together. So I'm going to ask you to pause here if you were not in class. Maybe see what you can do. I will tell you step 1. So this is the original expression. Just a hint, look here, that's a number by itself. That's probably the answer, or actually it is the answer. Okay, I'll just, spoiler alert. So I'm going to wait about 5 seconds and then I'll continue. I'll work this and then we'll go to page 23. Okay. Welcome back one way or another. So this was step 1. And we don't have any parentheses. We do have an exponent, but in this case, we're going to treat this like a parenthesis. Well, no. Scratch that. Back up the truck. Beep, beep. we're going to do what's in the parentheses here. Sorry, I'm thinking about another problem. My bad. I do that from time to time. You guys will get used to it. All right, so we subtract in here, and you get this guy. 9.2 minus 11.6 is negative 2.4. So we subtracted, right? So we're going to write subtract. Sorry, it's hard to write in these pages like that. All right, so we know this is last, and there's 5 steps. I'm going to write 5 here just so I'll quit looking at it. So this was step 2. So we have these 2 left. So notice this was still in, well, we've got negative 2 squared in the absolute value. It's gone here, but it's still there here, so that we're going to go up here. Negative 2.4 squared is 5.76. So we did, and you just need to write exponent. You don't have to write evaluate the exponent. I know, as long as you know that the exponent is what we use, that's the purpose. All right, so we know now this is step 4 because this was the answer. So looks like, so the absolute value of 5.76 is 5.76. If it was negative, it would be this. Remember, the absolute value of anything is the positive form. And you don't have to write out absolute value. If you want, you can just put A period V. I know that's absolute value, as long as you know what that is. All right, then between here and here, we subtracted. So for now, we're just going to write subtract. Later, we might write solve, but there we are. Okay. Now, scooching over to 23. Sorry, I'm looking just to make sure. Yeah, how much more we got here? All right, I had this where it was better. You could see the whole page. All right, let's try this. Okay, evaluate each expression using the order of operations. So I'm going to do the first one, then I'll pause a few seconds. I'll let you know so you can pause, and then I'll do this one. The bottom one you guys did in class. You guys showed me you got it right. If you weren't in class, this is part of your you do. So you're going to do C. I'm just going to circle it. All right, so part A. All right, so remember, parentheses, exponents, um, multiplication, division, left to right, addition, subtraction, left to right. I know we don't talk about absolute value, but you have to, before you can subtract, because you have to make this, you have to give the absolute value. So it's kind of a, I would just say you have to do it. I would do it after exponents. Just, it may make it easier. So parentheses first. So negative 5 plus 4.5 gives you negative 0.5. Now this is still cubed because it's there. Now we're going to go minus, and we're going to go ahead and remove this. So I'm just going to write it under here. This would be 8.7 because that's the absolute value. But this here, this is minus whatever this is. So it's going to be minus 8.7. Don't let it confuse you, but like if this was plus, this would be plus 8.7. Because it's minus, that minus comes down. All right, so now let's cube negative 0.5, excuse me. Hold on one second. I did not bring a calculator home, so we're going to use my phone. So 0.5, and it's a negative. And on this calculator, you use this button, and we're going to take, it's to the third power, or cubed, okay, equals. All right, so I'm just going to write this over here, and I can type it in the calculator from there, and that's what I've told you guys. I know before you weren't allowed to use the calculator. I am saying go for it. All right, so minus 8.7. So minus 8.7. So that's going to equal negative 8.825. Okay, so you can see my camera right there. Okay, And I like to show you the calculator because that's what I want you to use. Um, I believe the syllabus, or not the syllabus, but the supply list said calculator, either the XI or the XS, and I've been kind of telling you guys in class how to use both. So, and once everybody has a calculator, then I'm going to start writing what you would type in the calculator there to the side. Actually, I'll do it now. So from this, so you would type 0.5, then the negative, which would put it in the parentheses. Um, some of them you have to put the negative first, but this is just doing that. So it's negative, and then so for the XA, it's the little caret. I'm gonna put that up here, but for the other one, it's the button just below the off button. So it looks like this. So one of these two, and then you're telling it 3 because you'll hit equals, and that's when it gives you this number. And then you'll hit minus 8.5 equals, and then it should spit out that. Okay. Okay. So part B. I'm gonna wait about 5 seconds. Go ahead and pause, try to work this, and then unpause and see how you do. Part C, you're gonna do, and then that's something I'm gonna check. Um, we're gonna call it a math journal, and it may consist of this book and a composition notebook or worksheets that we're doing. That may be the purpose of the binder. We'll make it work. Don't worry. I'm not going to ask for anything else. It's trying to trying to make it as easy on me and the student, and also, but the most productive. Okay. All right. So part B. Hopefully you paused by now. So remember, we work parentheses first. So I'll take it down. So 4.1 minus 2.5. I'm just going to set my calculator over here to the side. You guys hopefully will work along with yours. So 4.1 minus 2.5. So that gives us 1.6 over 2 squared times, and the X throws everybody off. So it means times. I'm putting a dot because that's what we do. You'll hit the X on the calculator, but I'm putting a dot because it kind of confused us today. And you guys are going to hate me enough for talking about letters and numbers together when we get to that point. So let's just try to keep it at that. All right. So we did learn about exponents, that because this whole thing is squared, you're going to square this and square that. So I'm going to take that down. So in my calculator, 1.6, which should, yeah, 1.6, and we hit the square button, and it gives us 2.56. And then I know 2 squared, or 2 times 2 is 4. And I'm just going to put the negative 9 next to it because we know if it's touching, it's multiplying. Or I think Miss Feckety said last year, if it's hugging, it's multiplying. Either way, if these two are touching, there's nothing in between them, not a letter, whatever. I use the dot here because I'm getting to this point. This means multiplied. So you're going to multiply um, 2.56. Well, actually, what I would do in the calculator, so 2.56 divided by 4 equals, and then times negative 9 equals. So this is the times button. Just any buttons going forward will be in parentheses. Okay. I, well, not all of them. You know what the divided is, but that and these other guys. So it does. Otherwise, you're going to think that's y to the x power. It is, but it's a button on the calculator. So, so hold on. I've got a big picture of Sadie. She'll love that. Usually she actually tried to come in here and I shoot her away. So 2.56 divided by 4 equals. So I'm going to move over here with that. That's 0.64 times negative, no, yeah, negative 9. See, nope, not divided by, multiplied. times, and I have to go 9 negative on this one. I have written -9, but you see, and now equals. So your answer is negative 5.76. Sorry. Okay. All right. So part C, you do. If somebody turns in, you do. Well, first I'll laugh, but then I'm gonna give you some grief. Okay. Let's scooch over. So this is again collaboration stuff. So we did this in class. So it tells us that Amaya and David simplified the same expression, math problem, using order of operations, and they arrived at two different solutions. Their work is shown. All right, so this says they both made common mistakes. Circle the mistakes in their work. I didn't see any for David, but I didn't look super close. So give me just a moment. 2 point. Okay, well that was 6.25 times 7 negative 43.75. Oh, 7.7. Yeah, I don't see any. I don't know. We're just gonna. The mistakes are over here. So your original problem is -10 minus 7 times 2.5 squared minus the absolute value, Lord, of -5 3/4. So -7. I mean -10, -5, 2.5 squared minus. So everything looks the same. Okay. Now here. So what she did first was she changed this to a decimal. It became positive 5.75 and then it's minus. So she did that first. Technically it's wrong because you're supposed to start with this guy, which David did. Um, so she did that second. So it makes this the mistake too because she was supposed to do it first. But you see, so nothing's changed here. They both. Oh, well, David did make a mistake. See, this is not a negative and a negative. It's minus the yeah, she did that right over here. It's minus the absolute value. So it would be, instead of that, it would be minus 5.75. I think I did the math right, and that's why I didn't see an error. So let's see. So -10 minus 43 point. Yeah, oh, okay. All right, hold on. -10 minus 43.75. I might as well bring it over. 5 minus. So I'll have some, yeah, so this is not, this is wrong, and this is wrong. And the answer should be -59.5. So they were both wrong. Write a note. So I'm just going to put exponent first. Um, and then, oh, right here, she messed up because she did -10 and -7 instead of multiplying here. So exponent first, wrong order. Oops. 3. You guys, yeah. And then down here. So she had several mistakes. They've just, so minus this should have been, so if I, mhm, which makes this, I'm writing that out instead of all that other stuff. Oops. Okay. And evaluate the expression correctly. So this is something we will go over tomorrow If you guys are watching this, then you can correct it and um, let me know and give you like a bonus point or something. We will do things where I give bonus points in the videos. Maybe not all the time, but sometimes we'll do something. All right, so evaluate the expression correctly. So it's -10, -7, 2.5 squared minus the absolute value of -5.34. So this guy comes down, this guy comes down. We're squaring that, so it's 6.25. And I'm going to combine steps. So I'm going to tell you that the absolute value of -5 3/4 is 5.75. And I'm just going to go ahead and write minus 5.75 here. It doesn't hurt because this is where, like, here's where David messed up. And over here is where Amaya messed up. So now we go -7 times 6.25. So 7 negative times 6.25. So now we got -43.75 minus 5.75. And then up here, we still got -10. He hasn't been touched, right? Okay. Wow, we got to scoot over from running out of screen room. Goodness. So now, we're just going to redo it in the calculator here real quick. So -10 minus 43.75 minus 5.75 equals -59.5. So, sorry guys, I messed up today, and once I'll always admit my mistakes. That's how we all learn, and that's why, parents, if you're listening, that's one of my big rules. We don't give anybody a hard time or tease or whatever about learning, because everybody learns at different rates, and that's not cool. That will get you lunch detention very fast. So, anyway, better hurry up. I'm taking way too long. I'm sorry. I'm a little wordy tonight, or as Mrs. Whitlock likes to say, I say all the words. Sorry. Okay. Glasses. Okay. So I'm gonna work these, and I want you guys to work these, and same thing up here. I'll put in the sum of those answers. You can put the sum here, and we will leave C because you have to have both of those. So, making this quick. So part A. So there's no parentheses. There is an exponent. 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27. 3 cubed is 27. That's plus -6.5, and that's all in the absolute value. Sorry, my brain. So let's go here. So 6.5 negative plus 27. So we got 20.5. Now it's positive, and that is the absolute value. So I'm not drawing the signs here. We know this equaled this. It's already positive, so we can do away with the signs. I hope everybody understands that. So now I'm just bringing down 12 and that minus, because it was minus whatever that was the absolute value of. So now it's just 12 minus 20.5. Or if you already had negative, well, no, you wouldn't have had negative. I'm sorry. So yeah, and the answer to that is -8.5. We did get that in class. Okay, down here. So we got parentheses first. Then we have to square it. So what I recommend, type this in the calculator just like it is. So you're going to go 3 minus 7.5. And I'm going to go ahead and hit equals, because I want to know what that is on top. If you want to write it down, you can. In fact, I'll do it over here. -4.5 over squared. And I'm going to write that 8 beside it because we know, that, or I'll put the little point. Okay. But we're not going to need it because we're going to do this. We're going to go divided by 15. So, yeah, because it was 15. So that actually becomes negative 0.3. Now we're going to multiply that by 8 because this is times 8 and it just came along for the ride. So times 8. So your answer is negative 2.4 here. All right, and let's just move down. Yeah, it loves that camera. So trying to like not weird us out, but I can't help it. Oh well. Let's just write this first. So we got negative 32 divided by negative 2 to the 4th power times this in parentheses. So this is your parentheses to start. You got negative 3.6 minus 1.2. So two negatives is going to be negative 4.8. And I'm going to put it in parentheses. We're multiplying. So step 2 would be this exponent. So parentheses exponents, then multiplication division left to right. So we did this. We're going to do this. So watch this. So negative 2. And on this calculator, this is just like the one I said that it's a y to the x power. Where did it go? Or mine is x to the y power. But so we want to the 4th power. Let's see. And that is going to be 16. So I'm going to write 16. And then I'm going to do this because this is the front of the problem we haven't messed with yet. So we did parentheses exponents, now left to right, division and multiplication. So 32, negative 32 divided by 16 is negative 2. And now we're going to multiply that by negative 4.8. So 2 negative times 4.8 negative gives you positive 9.6. And actually, I think you guys were working on this. I can't remember because I have two pre-algebra classes. I don't remember. I think I let you guys do that, and then we kind of skipped over just so I could finish it. But I am going to give you guys time tomorrow. So it wants to know the partner A's the sum of their answers. So we got 8.5 plus 2.4 negative. It would have been just minus, but I'm just doing this, and then it's plus 9.6. Oh, I forgot this one up here. Hold on. So we got these three. I'm going to write it down here, negative 1.3. I won't have to do the last one. So real quick. All right, so we got parentheses, exponent inside the parentheses, and then division all inside absolute value. So here's how you do this. Give me a second. Hold on. Check something real quick. I guess I won't hold you up much longer. Oh well. No big deal. All right, so first thing we're going to do is square this negative 5. So negative 5 squared is 25. And because, or wait, no. Back it up. I hope this is not. So if this were in parentheses, we would have done it like we would have said negative 5 squared, but it's not. So that squared belongs solely to that 5. So we're going to say 30.5 minus 25 by 2. Right, so this 30.5 minus 25, that is 5.5 divided by 2 is 2.75. Well, let's just 5. Let's do 5.5. And then I'm just going to do divided by 2 because that's the same as that, right? This looks like a weird 3, 5. It's 5.5. All right, so you got the absolute value of 2.75, which is 2.75. All right, so you do this, and now we had negative 1.3, and that last one was 2.75. So we end up with 1.45. So we'll compare answers tomorrow. I'm going to try to hurry this. The lesson took a little longer today. We're going to hopefully get a little faster, but we're going to do it. We're going to work on everybody's speed. So we'll do what we got to do. All right, so this is page 25. Over here, your turn. Whoops, your turn. This is practice or homework. So do A through D. So this was our little cool down. So it said for each statement, write whether you agree with it, disagree with it, or unsure. These are a little tricky. So answer these. Don't worry, I'm not going to count it against you, but answer the best you can. And then tomorrow in class, I'll talk about this again. And that ends lesson 4. If you have any questions, please let me know. Parents, reach out on Parent Square. Students, let me know in class. Till next time, have a good night.